Hannalie, it's so lovely to have you online with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and have a chat with us. So please introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Thank you. I'm Hannalie. I use my maiden name, Van Tonda, because I applied for my visa while I was still in South Africa and I hadn't changed my name to my married name yet. So everything's legally in my maiden name. So I'm Van Tonda, but my married name is Le Grange.
And how do the Aussies pronounce Le Grange?
Oh, they don't struggle with that because Grange is like a mountain range or something here, or yeah, so they don't have a problem with the Grange. They think I have a very beautiful name. It's like, oh wow, how do you spell Hannalie? Some of them spell it like the English Hannah and then dash Lee, Leigh, or something like that. And then I just help them. Yeah, but they think I've got a unique, beautiful name.
But it is beautiful.
Thank you.
and you're lucky that it is actually very pronounceable for the Aussies, because I've heard some of the names, the South African names here, the people struggle so much with. You can imagine a name like Gert.
Yes.
Gert. Gert and Gert doesn't sound remotely the same to me. But and then I know about some friends who've actually changed their names when they came to Australia just because of the Afrikaans pronunciation that's so difficult for the Aussies to understand.
Yeah, definitely.
Luckily my surname Terblanche is very French, although it's so South African in my view, and they get it right quite well.
They get it. Yeah.
So that's good.
And my husband's name is Marius, so they sometimes struggle with that. But his first name is Eric, so it's a lot easier for him to introduce himself as Eric, although I call him Marius at home. So a lot of the guys know him as Eric.
That's very handy.
Yeah, it is handy to have the, like in the boere, they used to give their kids a lot of names. So just choose one that sounds English.
Oh, that's great. Yes, my husband is Carl, Carl, but in South Africa, they used to say Karel. So his mom was clever without knowing it when she named him, that she didn't put the E in between the R and the L. So he's just Carl now, which is really easy in Aussie land. Yeah. So Hannalie, tell us, how long have you been in Australia for, and where do you live at the moment?
I live in Perth, and south of Perth. So there's a south and a north side, and I'm in the south, Baldivis. And I've been here. The 5th of June was my 5th year. Yeah, I arrived on the 5th of June.
And can you still remember arriving here as if it was yesterday?
I think so, yeah, because when I drive down the freeway from the airport, it's still very fresh in my mind, looking at all these weird names that I thought I would never be able to pronounce. And then I chuckle and I think, oh, now I can pronounce it. But I still remember that driving on the freeway to the house. Yeah.
And how did you come into Australia? For what reason did you come firstly? And then what visa did you apply for?
Okay, so I met my husband online, and he's been in Australia for 18 years.
But he is South African, obviously, Marius.
He is a South African, yeah.
Yeah.
So I met him online and I said, oh, whatever, I'm not going to Australia, and I looked past him, and then he contacted me and said, no, he's serious about finding a wife. And so, yeah, met online, we chatted and met each other. So he came to South Africa and then I came here to just look things over, just to see if I could live here, and then decided to get married. Yeah, got married, and I applied for a spousal visa.
Onshore or offshore, can you remember?
Offshore. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I stayed in South Africa. I was working. So I applied for my visa just after we got married in South Africa. And he came back to Perth, and then I continued on in South Africa until my visa came through. which only took 2 months and 2 weeks.
Oh, that's really good. That's actually not, well, it feels like forever when you're waiting. I know.
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, you know, how long is it going to take? But they kind of, that's the top priority is when spouses are separated. So that's the top priority for this government, to get you reunited. So it was a good one, because I've had friends who got married here and they have taken a lot longer to receive their spousal visa. So they would be on like a tourist visa, get married, then apply for a bridging visa. And
Yes.
then they'd stay on that bridging visa for like a year before getting their spousal visa, where I got mine so quickly.
You got yours straight away. So when you came to Australia, you already had your spousal visa.
Yep.
So you had full working rights, and you didn't have to. You had Medicare, and you had all of those
Medicare,
things.
yeah, within the first week. That's the first
Wow.
things we went to do, is get myself on Medicare, open a bank account, you know, get job ready.
You're lucky in a way that Marius was here before, so he had already settled in, and he, you know, probably a circle of friends and so on. Did you find it easy to find your feet here as somebody who never lived here before? Did you have other friends here that you knew in Perth when you came over?
I have a friend who we went to high school together, and she's been here for 9 years now. I saw today on her Facebook page that she's been here for 9 years. Can't believe it's been that long. And so she was here, so I kind of didn't feel too, I don't know, anxious about it. But it was still difficult.
So that leads me to the question, what was the most difficult thing for you in the move to Australia? Firstly, moving across, and then secondly, settling in.
Yeah. So moving across for me, the most difficult, I love my family to bits, and I've got great friends, and so it is a huge shift, in the sense that even though we have technology and we can Zoom, and even if you were now in South Africa, we would be able to see each other. But it's just the, you know, that closeness and that family, because I don't have any family here. Marius has 2 sons, and they've accepted me, which is awesome. But it is I think that's the most difficult for me, is the friends and the friendships and the family that you have to leave behind.
Yes,
and
that's very hard.
Every time, so I go back to South Africa. I try to go every year. This year's just been crazy, so I haven't been back. I was there in 2018. And last year, my mother came to visit me. That's why I didn't go there. And this year, there's no travel. So I'm not going anywhere.
Not yet?
Yeah, not yet. But yeah, so I usually go once a year. So I have something to look forward to. I know there are many people who haven't been back for years, like 10 years or 20 years or whatever, and they don't want to go back. But yeah, I've still got all my family, my siblings and my mum there.
And how does your family feel about the fact that you're over here? What did they say when they realized, I guess, the first time that you were going to leave?
Yeah. Excited for me, glad. I'd lived abroad for 7 years before coming here. So I had been away for quite a while, and then back to South Africa for about 4 years before I moved to Australia.
Okay.
So they were excited, but also, and my mum just said, you know what, it's your life. You know, you have to go and live your life, because I wanted to stay for her, but yeah, she just said no. And I know there's a lot of people who have struggles with that because their family don't want them to come here.
That's
But
right. Not
but
not all of them have support. Yes.
yeah, so you really need to think with your head and not with your heart.
Well, yes, that's very true. It's a difficult thing to do because of, mostly in my view, because of family that you leave behind, and because you're going to an unknown.
Yeah.
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Some people come across, as you will know, with jobs, which makes it easier,
That's
and with
my
permanent
husband
residence.
Yeah. Yep.
And that just makes it a lot easier in my view. Whereas some people come here and they just have a work permit, and they don't know anybody. They don't have any system set up. They don't have well, if they come with a work permit, usually they have a job, but some of them come with permanent residence visa and no job, and they have to actually come and explore and find a job, which is really daunting, especially if you have a family. But it's not impossible to make it work, because a lot of people have made it work.
You know, a cleaner earns a salary that they can pay a house and a car and whatever here. So, you know, the minimum wage is, I heard today, 729 a week or something. So that is a livable salary. And so even that's the one thing I can say is, don't think you're going to come here and be the manager of a company. It's not going to happen unless you are the owner of that company, maybe, you know, and you bring your company here.
Yes.
But for a person who just comes on a work visa, or on a, you know, just to come and look and you know, I don't know how people do it, but find any job, you know, anything, just do anything.
Get a foot in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who drives the truck gets more money than my husband. So it's not about having a degree. It's about, are you willing to work?
Exactly.
And South
right.
Africans are renowned for being great workers.
Yes. And sometimes, unfortunately, being very picky too. And that's a mistake that I've seen a lot of them do when they come over to Australia, because most people who come over here have to take one step back in their sort of income level when they come to Australia. It's just how life is. And then what we see is that those people, for the first few months or year or two, maybe they might still be in that level lower than what they might have been previously in South Africa. But then once they've settled in, they just start taking off, and they progress upwards so well. And it's amazing to see them flourish. And then 5 years in, they're much better off in Australia than they ever would have been in South Africa, because for whatever reason, they might have been stuck in the system in South Africa. So it's difficult at first. Yes, those first 5 years, I'd say, are really tough.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely what you make of it.
Someone said to me in the first 3 months I was here or something, they said, Hannalie, it takes 1,000 days. So that's 3 years, give or take, you know. And I really did struggle. I struggled in the beginning, but I just decided I have to immerse myself into the community, or, you know, find ways into things. And it's just, I studied socialism at uni, and a group will not come to you and say, come, Hannalie, come join us. You know, you need to force yourself into that group. And that's what I did in the beginning. You know, I really, you know, I went to church, and I became part of a Bible study group, which was not part of the church. So I went to an English church, and I got into a Bible study there. I go to the Afrikaans church, but I'm at an English Bible study. So I met other nations, not only Aussies, you know. So we actually call us the United Nations of Bible Studies, because we've got a Canadian and a Ugandan and a couple of English girls. So yeah, we are really the United Nations. And then a friend of mine asked me to join the multicultural group.
Yes.
Which, just a sweet old ladies, and we get together once a month and drink tea and eat cake and whatever and just have fun together. But it's just getting to know other people and what they do, and that's how you survive. That's how I survived. I had to become part of things, and because friends are I'm all about relationships. So I need my female friends, so I just had to immerse myself in anything I could find.
And do you feel that you now have sufficient friends, like a circle of friends who you can turn to, who support you come hell or high water?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
South Africans or a mixture?
A mixture. Yeah, a mixture of Aussies, Canadians, and South Africans, of course.
Yeah, I have to say, you'll struggle not to find South Africans in Perth. Wherever you go, you hear Afrikaans somewhere. So, and there's always some kind of South African function on in the area, or there are so many South African churches. So there are definitely a lot of ways that you can meet South Africans in Australia.
It's not difficult to find South Africans, but don't think everyone wants to be a friend with you.
That's true. but that's normal. That's just that's just how it should be, like that as well.
Yes.
We should be able to pick and choose.
Yeah, in Afrikaans we say it's not our nie ons dam se eende nie. So it's not our whatever. I don't know how you say it.
It's not our kind of people.
It's just not our kind of people. So that's fine, but it's just good. So that people know,
And then what do you do in terms of work? You work, don't you? Yes?
Yes. So I do quite a few things. So originally I didn't work. So I would say for the first year I really struggled. And then I went to a dinner at my friend's house, and this woman was showing us how to cook in this amazing machine, which is called a Thermomix. And when the demo was over, my husband said, "Oh, I'm going to buy you one of them." And I'm like, "Oh, you don't have to buy me one. I'm going to be a consultant." So that's where my journey started with cooking. And so I'm a Thermomix consultant. And then I've always had a dream of either opening a restaurant or having a bakery or a coffee shop or something like that. So I applied. It's quite a process, but to get your kitchen certified by the council so that you can bake. So I also have a home baking business.
Wow.
And I've recently started cooking for I Hate Cooking, which is a company who cooks for people who hate cooking. And
to teach them?
No. Okay, so that's another part of the business. So one part of the business is you cook for people. So say for example, a bachelor who doesn't like cooking, but he wants to eat healthy and he doesn't want to buy the supermarket ready-made food or whatever. He wants to eat home-cooked meals. So we go into his home, we cook for him 15 to 25 servings, and we leave it in the fridge, and he comes home and there's, a week's or a month's worth of food, and he can freeze it, and there are instructions how to defrost everything. And then the other part of the system is teaching people to cook. This is through the NDIS, so it's National Disability Insurance Scheme.
Yes.
And so they pay us to teach people how to cook. So it's usually a person with disability who needs to know how to cook so that they can be self-sufficient later on. And
that's very good.
So I've recently started that.
Okay, so why did you decide to start working after you came to Australia? Because you said you didn't start right away.
No, yeah. I don't know. My mum will say, because she can't sit still. Yeah, I have to keep busy, and work isn't always stable. So my husband although he's a teacher, last year he got redundancy the previous year. So last year he only worked for 2 days a week. And that happens a lot. You know, a lot of guys who fly in, fly out to the mines, they'll have a contract of 4 or 5 months and then it's finished. And then for 1 or 2 months, they don't have a job. So this happened, and I was like, you know, who's going to put food on the table? And, you know, so yeah, there is, I could see that there would be times that I would have to step in. And yeah.
Okay, and then you went to this party where the Thermomix was being displayed.
Yes.
So that's actually a really good coincidence. And you love cooking.
Yes, I love cooking. Yeah.
And tell me about your dogs. Did you bring them across? Which I'm sure they're treated as well as you would have treated children, because I can imagine they must have a royal life. Do you cook for them too?
Yes. And my husband is like, why are you giving the dogs that meat? And I'm like, listen, I've never asked you to buy their meat. I'm the one supplying it, so don't say anything. No, my dogs have a royal life. So there is dog racing in Australia, which is a very sad thing. And I don't even want to tell you how many dogs are euthanized in a year in Australia. And so what happens is a dog usually races up to the age of 3 or 4, and then after that they are put out to the adoption agencies, and if they're not adopted, they're euthanized. So I have my first dog, Lady, she didn't race. She just refused to chase the bunny. She's so cute.
Good on you, Lady.
Yes. Right. So I got her when she was just, I think 15 months old. So she was still young. But you get them and they're already house trained and they have been neutered and everything. So it's awesome. Getting they're greyhounds, by the way. So huge dogs. So I got her, and then I was going to go to South Africa for about a 7-week period. And I said to my husband, she's going to die without me. She has to have a friend, because I was home every day and it was her and me. And we were just, you know, we are just like 2 peas in a pod. And I said, she needs a friend because she's going to die, you know. So we got Duke. So we've got Duke and Lady Le Grange. Those are the greyhounds, and I'm their slave. And they're both here. They're lying here at my feet because
they're very quiet. They're very well behaved.
Greyhounds don't bark.
Awesome.
Yeah, they don't bark. So the postie can come to the door. They jump up and down, you know, because they're excited to see a new face or whatever. But they don't bark, so they're not noisy dogs. Which I love.
Did you have to leave animals behind in South Africa? I doubt it, because you said you'd already lived abroad just before. So
no, I didn't have any animals. Yeah.
So that makes it easier in a sense that you didn't have to feel that emotional baggage, I guess, because a lot of people can't afford to bring their animals with them, or their animals are unwell and they can't bring them. I had to leave my dog behind because when I came back in the day, quarantine was something ridiculous, like I don't know, something like 8 months or 10 months or something.
How do you leave your dog in quarantine?
And my dog was treated like yours at the moment. So I just thought, no, I couldn't do that to them. So I had to rehome her, which is very sad. But then luckily I managed to find a new dog when I came this side. So that's an interesting part, because Yorkshire Terriers in South Africa are very common, but they're very uncommon here. And so are most purebred dogs. You don't easily or cheaply at all
That's
buy
the
a
thing. They're
purebred
very
dog.
expensive. Yeah.
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 And Hannalie, tell me, if you could give advice to somebody who would like to come to Australia and they're thinking about, should I go or shouldn't I go? What would you say to somebody considering coming across?
Go for
it.
You know what? Yeah, just do it. It is a huge decision, and it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. I've seen people go back to South Africa,
Yeah.
which is strange for me, you know, but you need a certain kind of resilience to be able to do it, I think, and you need to stick it out. Just, you know, the issues in the world, I would say, is the reason why I didn't hesitate to come. So previously I lived in Taiwan. I felt extremely safe there. And when I went back to South Africa, I felt unsafe every single day. Mm. So it was, I'm getting emotional now. Yeah. My safety was important. Mm. And yeah, so I didn't hesitate. And if I had children, that would be my first consideration, you know.
Do you find that you still have some of that emotional baggage, that being scared, I guess, that the unsafe feeling that you used to feel in South Africa? Do you think some of that is hung around within you? Not that you're scared in Australia, but I just mean, because I sometimes wake up with nightmares as if I'm still in South Africa, and I dream people breaking into our house. And you know, do you experience the same? Do you get that sort of back flashes?
No, I don't, but I'm anxious for my family who are all there. I mean, touch wood, nothing has ever happened to them, but I mean, our pastor here, you know, they were attacked in their home. It's just stuff that happens. And yeah, I just worry about them.
Where
I know
are they
I'm
in South
safe.
Africa? Which part in South
My
Africa?
My family.
Yeah.
All over. In Witbank, I've got a brother and sister who are in Mpumalanga or Witbank, and then my mum is in oh my goodness, so many names. I want to say Tshwane, and I know it's wrong, Pretoria. And yes. And my other sister is also now in Pretoria. She used to be in Postmasburg, but she's not there anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so most Transvaalers.
Yeah. And then my mum's sisters are all in Cape Town, so that's, you know.
So when you go to South Africa, is there something specific that you want to go and see or relive or eat when you go back for holidays?
Not really. I like going to the bushveld, you know, just the smell of the bush and a fire, you know, a real bushveld fire is just, you know, not something that you get here. So I love that. Not necessarily anything that I want to eat. I don't miss anything. There's so many South African shops here, and you know, so they, you know, I bake my own milk tarts, so I never need that. And my husband makes biltong, so there's nothing that we really want. We buy Mrs. Balls in the South African shop, so we sorted.
Yeah. So there's nothing specific that you try and bring over from South Africa. Well, you can't really bring food because they're so
just really the last two times that I came over, I came back, I brought family heirlooms. So if my mum looks for a silver, she knows where it is.
She's gonna find out now.
Yeah, so just things that remind me of home, or or maybe a nice a tablecloth with South African writing on it, or something like that. That's what I kind of like to bring. Yeah.
And do you have other family members that come and visit you from time to time who've been here since you've moved over, or not?
Not yet. No.
It's
No.
really expensive to come across.
It is expensive, yeah. And it's expensive both ways, that's
Exactly.
also the thing, so people think, oh, you live in Australia, you can avoid it, you can afford it, but it's
it's
just
not
as expensive for me
but
to fly.
But it's even more expensive, because if you buy your airplane ticket to South Africa from here, leaving Perth, then it's hundreds of dollars more expensive, we've seen, than when it's the other way around, when you fly out of South Africa. And the thing is, because there's only the one airways that fly this route, they know they can basically do that. They can ask as much as they like. And there's so many South Africans here who go back all the time, and they can put their price on and they'll get it, which is really sad, because this uitbuiting in Afrikaans, I can't remember which the English words for that. So yeah, it's not nice of them, but in the age of technology, it does help that we can do things like this. I mean, I'm in Perth and you're in Perth, but we're not in the same spot at all. So we can have a nice chat over here, and it's just really lovely. Can you imagine how it must have been 50 years ago or so, when there wasn't modern technology like this?
When you had to, write a letter to someone and wait 3 months for it to arrive there, and then for them to write back. It's old news already.
It's true. You can almost have a baby that time.
I sent, this is really funny. I used to, from Taiwan, send Christmas cards home. And I decided last year I'm going to do Christmas cards again, just my family. So just the close family. So my brothers, my sisters, and my niece, and like that, Anyway, so I sent it, and my niece sent me a picture about a month ago. Was it May? I think it was in May. She says, look what I've received in my mail today. So it was my Christmas card. I sent last year. So she received it 6 months later.
Wow. Well, she got it.
She got it. I was impressed. But they didn't just chuck it,
That one was literally called snail mail.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if there's one thing that you could change here in Australia, what would that be? If anything.
Yeah. The many rules. So like my home baking business, right? In South Africa, you have a tuisnywerheid. So you've got these, 10 girls baking at their home, bringing you their biscuit and their melktert and their whatever, and you sell it from your little shop. Here, it will never, ever happen, because, every kitchen has to be certified. It costs an amount of money, and not everyone has that money. And then, they come and inspect your house. And it's ridiculous, the hoops you have to jump through to have a little business. And
they do make it hard. Yeah,
I would think, because it's an entrepreneurship, I would think Australia would be awesome, go for it, do it, but like, I can't even do milk tart. I can't do milk tart from my home. It has to be a commercial kitchen. And I'm like, you know what, us South Africans, we know milk tart. If someone purchases a milk tart from me, they're going to have it that day. They're not going to eat it in 3 days or 3 weeks.
They can't wait that long.
They're going to have it today. They buy it because they want it for today, for this afternoon's tea. That's why they buy it.
And it goes in one meal
one
time.
Sitting. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I can't do milk tart. So that's those little things, the stupid things for me, because like South Africans know what milk tart is. It's not strange or weird for us or anything. Yeah, that kind of thing. That I would like to
Yeah,
change
a lot
that.
of red tape. They've got a lot of
Yeah.
red tape. I know some
And
people say it's job. They create jobs
job
by putting
creation.
in
Yeah.
all the red tape in.
Or I feel it's like a nanny state as well, you know, so they coddle everything is, you know, it's there's so many layers to everything that I always say to my husband, I'm so glad we grew up in Africa, you know, because really we are tough. And I don't feel that the Aussies are tough.
And if there is one thing that you love the most in Australia that you can specify, what's that? What's the most special thing for you? What's the best thing of living in Australia?
The first thing I wrote back to my friend, my work colleagues in South Africa, I said, I wish everyone can be as tolerant as the Aussies. I think it's a very tolerant nation, loving, and they have good values.
That's true. They've got their family, especially family values, I find. And they have a word here called mateship, which I'm sure you know by now what that means. And they have it here for a reason. It's because they really do care about their mates, about other people. Hannalie, I really appreciate you taking the time and having a chat with us. It's been so great to hear your story and the highs and the lows of having been here. You know, it's not always easy for people who don't know what is lying on the other side of the visa, I guess. And they, in a way, I can imagine that they would love to have been here already, but they still have to jump through a number of hoops to get here. We appreciate you sharing your story, and I'm sure that there will be people that will resonate and associate with some of the things that you've said. And each person's story is unique. No two people have come to Australia with the same situation, either what they'd left behind or how they came here or what they're doing while they're here. So it's really wonderful that you're sharing with us what's happened with you, and glad to see that you're happy in Australia. If there's anything else that you'd like to share before we say goodbye with our viewers.
Just if you want to do it, reach out, you know, speak to people that are here or want to come here, or, you know, just reach out. There's such a huge community of South Africans or other countries, you know, people that are here and have made it a success. So just reach out and talk to us.
Awesome. Thank you once again. Really appreciate it. Have a lovely evening, and we'll talk soon again.
Thank you, Chamonix. Bye.
Bye, Hannalie.